Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alek, Koberna, back at it here. Matt and Morrison over there. Mike Wolfgang will be joining us here in just a little bit of time, still making his way back and getting back onto the show here. But Matt, that gives us some time to talk some high school sports from last night, high school recapping it. We each had some pretty good events going on as I got to see a championship crowned in historic fashion for the first time in 17 years. Liberty, they hadn't won a title in 17 years for the league championship. This is just their second year playing in the MVAC conference, and they rolled to a win here. It was a tough physical game against Champion, but I mean, if you look into the research on this girls basketball team, looking throughout the trophy cases and banners on the wall, the internet, Googling past seasons, I couldn't find a single time where this girls team has ever won a league championship. So it's possible. I'm not 100% sure. I still got to dig in a little bit deeper before we get to playoff time to fact check this. But it may have been the first ever league championship for the girls basketball program at Liberty, which is crazy to say when you talk about how prestigious this campus has always been when it comes to their basketball programs. Twice they finished the season number one AP in boys. They went through a streak there in the Trouble County Conference in the 80s, 70s, and 90s where they were pretty much winning every single year. They got a board up there with the boys' names, and it's about 40 league championships deep there. I mean, they look like Ohio State football when you talk conference championships. And the boys, they've been very good, but they hadn't even won it since 2005. And so to be there last night in that arena after 17 years of no league championships, it was a special moment. I was zooming in on the girls right as that buzzer hit zero. They were holding on to it. Ball goes flying, arms go up, all meeting in a big dog pile. And it was one of those moments that you just don't forget. I mean, it was one of those moments they had been waiting for so long. And I think maybe one of the craziest things out there, the last time this team won a league championship, or this school won a league championship back in 2005 in basketball, most of these girls weren't born. That was 17 years ago. You know, some were, but keep in mind, these are high school kids. I mean, we're talking 15 to 18 years old. Some of those girls weren't born. It's a young team. Some of these girls have not been alive since the last time this school won a championship. That's what made this so much bigger than any one individual. I mean, now at this point, they are 18-1. They have one game left on the season. Looks like they canceled their game against Youngstown East, so they have one more game coming up, and that's tomorrow on the road in Memorial. They have a chance to go 19-1, finish 13-1 in conference. They have scored in total this season already 1,200 points on the season while only allowing under 800 so far. This team, this was a special performance. There was a miscommunication, so the first part of the game was missed on YSN. The game ended up starting early. No one notified us, so we're going to make sure we can double check from now on to make sure everybody can get to watch this very special team down at the end of the stretch. We had some internet problems in the beginning, able to sort that out going to the second half. But Champion in this game, it was a part in the third quarter. They were down by 15 points, and it felt like Liberty was on one of those runs. Matt, you've gotten a chance to see a few videos that I've showed you of this team making those epic runs, those famous runs that I keep talking about, and the way they can put away opponents. Liberty goes up 15, and all of a sudden you're just thinking, oh, this is it. They're going to crush it. Here's a league championship. It's all theirs. I'm, getting things hype. We hit the 4-minute mark of the third quarter. Things flip up. Champion starts storming back. This entire momentum switch just keeps going and going. They get down the final 4 minutes. It's a 3-point game after the third quarter. They're good. Down by 4 points at the half. The lead got extended up to 15 and back to 3 in a 4-minute back and forth session. Then you get into the fourth quarter and shots back and forth. I mean, it was crazy. Liberty was turning the ball over like I have never seen. Champion, their fundamental basketball was tearing Liberty to shreds. There were moments it looked like they were in full panic mode. And just when you thought things couldn't get worse, Sienna Smith goes down to the floor hard, and she's not getting up. It was definitely a scary moment, right to break. We came back, and so did she. She got right back on the floor. I think it was 2-3 minutes. She stayed off the floor. It looked like it may have been a season-ending ACL. The way she was pounding the floor and holding her knee, it looked like when I tore my ACL. That's what it felt like looking at her. Like, oh man, that's devastating. And she gets back in that game and wastes no time getting to work. She's passing that rock around. She doesn't even look like she was injured. She put a brace on. She was good to go. She was playing phenomenal in the late stages. Tiana Weatherly, a girl we've been getting really hyped about in this later stages of the season, she was balling out in half this game. When they went on that big run, Tiana was getting down in there, man. She's going to be a threat come playoff time for Liberty. Should be very exciting to see. But you get down that fourth quarter, those final few minutes, the fouls are adding up on either side. Liberty gets a few more big shots to go, and they go up by 4 going into that final minute, and the champion had no choice but to foul. I think the first foul, Sienna drilled her free throw. Second one bounced out. She's only 55% free throw shooter. Definitely something she can work on going into next season to make her even more lethal. But they just got that lead extended, and you got to a certain point, that clock was ticking down from 10, and I was counting with them, and that buzzer went off. And first title in 17 years. It was great. I got to speak to Coach Watson after the game, and she was like, it's so great getting that monkey off her back. You can go check out that full interview at ysnlive.com once that article gets put up there on the website for Liberty. Great moment for the school. Great moment for those girls. I mean, Coach Watson, first thing she said after I asked, hey, who are you giving credit to this season? She went, it's all the players. You know, they can only be coached as much as they want to be coached, and we're going to give them everything that we can. But, you know, they did the work in the offseason. They put in everything to get to this moment, and she was so proud. And Demi Watson, her daughter, you know, she's been able to coach her daughters for a couple of years now in a row, and that's been very great for her to be able to, especially at this moment, experience that with her own daughter. I mean, I can't believe the emotions that must be going through that school at the moment, especially now. This is going to go down at the moment in at least recorded history we have from at least Max Preps, the greatest season of all time in Liberty girls basketball history, a potentially 19-1 season, culminate with the fact they are a 1 seed going into the playoffs. This is their highest in-state ranking and highest divisional ranking ever for the girls program. It's phenomenal. I'm so glad I picked this school start of the season. You know, I think there was a little bit of doubt coming out, especially out of the girls' side with the season they had last year. So much youth, though, came back, and they're going to get it pretty much all back next season. Liberty, they got a couple of years here where they're running the table. The MVAC now, for the first time, runs through Liberty.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I saw them even when they lost to Brookfield. That was the only game I saw. They still looked amazing in that game. They almost won it. They almost won that game. They just
almost perfect season. Almost.
But I mean, Brookfield last night lost a nail biter, 51-48, and man, the crowd was going. Controversial calls were definitely involved by these referees. But along with that, I mean, the defense on both sides was like, man, this offense, this can't go. There was some key players on both teams. Jenna Smith, who reached 1,500 points last night for Garrettsfield Garfield. So congratulations to her. But then another milestone for Sophia Hook on the Brookfield side reaches 1,000 points. So I was just at the perfect game last night. I mean, 51-48. I mean, you can't ask for a better game than that. Close game coming down to the end. Audrey Reardon was going off. Hook was going off. Jenna Smith and the Seaman sisters, I know you've seen them, Sarah and Cindy Seaman, fantastic players. And, you know, and Wellman was going off, too, for Brookfield. Kaylee Wellman was magnificent.
She's a young star. They got to like what they have
very
in her.
Much so.
She's got a lot of upside.
But Smith was almost unstoppable in the paint. They couldn't stop her. I think every time they tried to block her, they fouled her, and she made pretty much every one of her free throws. It was just insane. I'm like, man, she had like 22 points. So they went off. The great game tonight. I'm going to have another rival game, Badger taking on Bristol, the Panthers. And believe me, I went to Badger, and we just really disliked Bristol. Okay, Bristol always had the upper hand against us.
At least in girls.
They're very good. They beat Badger the last time in Bristol, but it's always been a rival. It's always been an interesting game, no matter what happens. So, you know, and the fact that I went to Badger, at least in one of the schools in the rival, just makes the broadcast even more better because you get that feel like, oh yeah, come on, you know.
Yeah, you got a stake in the battle.
Yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be something tonight. But I want to give a shout out to the to the Badger girls last night, beating Hubbard by 1 point in a
Huge
in a
game.
nail biter game. So whether game I got assigned to the Badger or Brookfield, in the end I got assigned to Brookfield. But either way, it would have been a great game to call. So, but that's what I got. I got games this whole week. So I got Badger games the rest of this week. So
Oh,
girls and boys. So
sounds good,
it's
Matt.
gonna be
I don't
something
got
to
any
see.
games tonight. What do you got going on tonight for high school basketball?
Tonight is Badger versus
Oh, that's
Bristol.
right. Yeah. Put
Yeah,
the graphic up late, darn it.
but it should be pretty fun. Should be fun.
Yeah, I've
Crowd's
got
gonna
some
be
great
going.
games coming up this week that obviously we're going to be previewing. I might as well. I already said where I'm going at tomorrow. Since I won't be on the show on the Wednesday edition, I'll point this out. Liberty and
Yeah.
Campbell Memorial tipping things off 5:30. Looking for the
Is this
19-1
boys?
season. Girls.
Oh, okay.
19-1 season on the line for Liberty if they can close out the win. Right now, yeah, I think everyone knows they're heavy favorites going into it. So
Yes.
it should definitely be exciting. I think maybe the one thing you got to look out for is, them not letting off the gas at all in that game.
No, not at
Getting
all.
down to the late stage. I mean, they're on a 5-game win streak. They want to make it 6. And then after that 6, it's a long, short ride to Dayton. It's a short ride, but it's going to feel like forever out there on that floor every night. I mean, they said goal. Coach Watson was like, goal now, district title. They want that district title. Then after that, they worry about state.
Yeah, they could go.
All the coaches say 1 game at a time.
1 game at a time.
1 game at a time for college basketball top 10. Still waiting for Mike to join on here on the show. He'll be in no time here, but let's go ahead and get in their college basketball top 10. We have a new number 10 here on the show. Last week, it was Michigan State. This week, it stays in the Big Ten, but for the first time, the Illinois Fighting Illini taking the spot here. I'm the only one that put them into our top 10s. I had them sitting up at 6, so they got a lot of points off of that vote. To me, I mean, how can you not like what's coming out of Illinois right now? They're on a 4-game win streak. And, they got wins over Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Indiana. They had a bad loss on the 21st to Maryland. You hate to see that. But to me, they're playing as good as anybody in the Big Ten right now. We're going to talk about a game later tonight they have against Purdue, another team still in our top 10. And I think that battle right there is one you can probably see again later in March in the Big Ten tournament, whichever one. Battle for first place of the Big Ten tonight. But when you talk about what this Illinois team has done, they're 10-2 in conference play. I think at this point in the season, you can forgive 3 of those losses out of conference. It's so far out of mind. Those aren't games that you're really going to be looking back at because that's a different team you have playing out there on the floor at this point in the season. So with what Illinois is putting together right now, I really like where they're at, and they're first in the Big Ten. So how can I put Purdue above them if this is the number 1 team in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I mean, Illinois, they've totally bounced back. They had a couple losses earlier in the season. That one
they were trying to find themselves after the loss of Ayo Dosunmu.
Yeah.
It takes a while.
It just takes a minute. They still have key players. I mean, Kofi Cogburn is great. He's gonna be he's gonna be a first-round pick, maybe even top 10 pick in the NBA draft. So
I think he'll go a little bit lower. You see Big Ten guys that score big go low.
Yeah, but they lost a couple games in the Big Ten. They lost to Purdue, but not by a lot, 96-88. Maryland actually beat them pretty well, but it happens. Then they pull off, 3 straight wins. Northwestern, Wisconsin, Indiana. And then they have Purdue next. But we're going to talk about that. You just said that. But, man, those are tough games to win right there.
Michigan State, Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Indiana.
Yeah, Michigan State. Yeah. They beat them by 1. They just beat them by 1, but that's all it takes.
Whatever gets the job done.
Whatever gets it done. But I can't wait to I'm happy that they're doing better than they were earlier in the season, and I'm happy to see them, make a huge run here. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully
everything's up for grabs in the Big Ten.
Tonight will be a big one to watch. That's for sure.
Everything is up for grabs in the Big Ten. You don't know who's going to win the Big Ten title. You don't.
No, if you had asked people beginning of the season, it was Michigan, right? Michigan was the favorite to pretty much win this thing, and they're 5-5 in conference play now. So it's about as big of a question mark as you could ask for. Who would have told you Rutgers was going to do better than Michigan this year?
Yeah, Rutgers is surprising people.
No one would have told you that, right?
Nobody.
I mean, and I think maybe one of the bigger things that we kind of miss out on when you look at the Big Ten conference standings is you see those teams over the top, they have great records, and then you start going on, oh, Rutgers, they're just 7-5 in conference play. Yeah, but that means they're only 3 games back from first place. So you're talking about a chance, even with Michigan down at 4. If either one of these teams makes a big run to finish out February and go into March, they're right up there in contention for a Big Ten title, regular season title at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's still everything is still wide open in my book. I mean, I think there's probably a few teams already out of contention. You would probably say starting Iowa, Penn State, Northwestern, Maryland, Minnesota, and Nebraska. And Minnesota, I think maybe one of the bigger shockers down there at just 2-9 in conference play with how strong they were outside of conference play. I mean, they were 9-0. Mm-hmm. They didn't lose out of conference. Yeah. They've lost all 9 in conference play.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's hard to win in Big Ten country. I mean, but let's move it on here as Mike Wolfgang officially joining the show. Mike, how's it going?
It's about time. Where have you been? We've been worried sick about you.
From class? You know this.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Mike, number 10 here on our list, Illinois Fighting Illini. You got in here just at the right moment. We're about to move on to number 9. Any thoughts on the Fighting Illini here?
I thought I had them in, but I guess I don't have them in mind. But yeah, they're to me, they're outside looking in. I think they're 13 in the real rankings. So I think I probably have them at 11 right now. I think they're second best team in the Big Ten, obviously. So in the Big Ten, I heard you guys talking about
you could argue
how tough it is.
We're going to figure out who the best team is tonight. We're talking that game later, Illinois-Purdue.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's they're viable. They're legit, and they should be considered to be in the top 10.
All right, number 9, first time ranking here on the show. The Providence Friars finally getting in. We all put them at number 9, so they got the shot here to move up into the top 10. I think Providence really benefited right now after Duke lost last night to Virginia. I mean, Duke goes down and opened that door wide open for Providence just to slip in, because I had them sitting as my number 11 team, and I had Duke at 9, and I had UCLA at 10. And when I saw Duke go down, I went Providence 9. I mean, I had to put them up there. I left UCLA up there. It was 2 losses. I want to see if they get back to it. I think they will. I don't want to just throw them out already after 2 hard losses back to back. So I left those guys at 10. They don't make our official rankings, but Providence, I mean, we've been high on these guys for a while. I mean, I was raving and ranting to these start of January. We come back from Christmas break, and here I am talking about Providence, and here they are 2 months later, or a month later, actually, and they're sitting in our top 10 finally.
And you know what? Like you said, with Duke losing, then Kansas loses. I mean, Baylor, the way they've been reeling and kind of stinking up the last few games, they just started to slide in. They're 11th in the rankings. So
yeah, I mean, what more can you ask for out of this team too? I mean, with the way they're playing these last few games, St. John's, a team we've all been high on, beat them by 4. Marquette, another top 25 team, beat them by 2. Xavier, a top 25 team with wins over Ohio State, beat them by 3.
They did split with Marquette. Marquette did beat them one time, but I mean,
Marquette took the January 4th matchup. But hey, recency matters when you talk college basketball. It was a blowout last time. UCLA beat Arizona. Where do they sit in this week's ranking? It's all about what have you done for me now. That's at least how I look at sports. It's so hard to let go, especially in baseball. I'll just compare this to baseball. Am I going to say something like, oh, man, you lost that series to the Yankees at the beginning of the season, but you beat them in the World Series? Yeah, but they still beat you at the beginning of the season. It's so far away, especially in basketball terms. A month makes all the difference in terms of teams. I mean, look at Minnesota a month ago to where they are now. It's what have you done for me now? And if you're on a big win streak like Auburn, that's great. It's still the most important game is always the next one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Win streaks are great, but you got to win the next one to make it count.
And, I was thinking about that too, and I was kind of looking at some of my rankings. I was like, you know what? Because you guys know in college football, at least in my eyes, head-to-heads matter. To me, at least. And I was thinking, it's different in college basketball because most of the teams you play twice in conference. So I agree with you, Alek. It's what you've done recently, what you've done in that second matchup, how you fared in the most recent matchup with the team.
Yeah, Mike, because if I was going head-to-heads, which I kind of have been these past few weeks when I was comparing those Big Ten teams because that's all we had.
Me too.
Michigan State, they slipped up, and I'm like, well, by my eyes, I mean, I still have Michigan State higher than Purdue, but that doesn't make any sense because they've lost. So there are circumstances that you have to throw out those head-to-heads. They don't always matter like they do in college football. College football, you have 12 games. College basketball, 12 games in, you're in the first month.
Right.
It's a long season. I mean, it's obviously not huge, but it definitely feels like a season that goes on for a long freaking time. I mean, they're playing around 30, 35 games. So, I mean, nearly almost triple the amount college football plays. So definitely a huge disparity there.
Yeah.
Matt, any other thoughts here on the Providence Friars?
I mean, I love watching them. They have great players. Jared Bynum is awesome. I like this kid for Providence. I like watching him play. But, man, that guy can hit from outside. I mean, the last one he hit to wrap up that win, I was just like, oh, my God. So I like watching this team. I like to see him make a huge run in the tournament. And, it's just going to get better. They got Villanova twice.
And by the way, can we throw out there how underrated the Big East is?
Oh, yeah.
It's underrated.
Right now,
it's
they're
so
pretty
underrated.
much probably arguably second best conference.
Yeah, it's so strong. I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 teams, I think, in the top 25.
Yeah.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah, man, you mentioned Jared Bynum. I think you have to point out how many points he had in that game. He played 31 minutes against Georgetown, scored 32 points in 31 minutes. You have to be pretty freaking good to average that, to put that up there. So that's definitely a big mark to put up there. But how about we move on once again? We got a decently long show today. So another team here at number 8 that has not yet seen the top 10, but they get in now. Texas Tech, the Red Raiders have moved up. They shot up both your guys' rankings. And kind of with the bottom of our rankings a little shaky, it gave them the opportunity to bounce right up in here. So I think you got to like what Texas Tech is at right now. I mean, they're one of those teams on the outside looking in for me. Third in the Big 12. When I'm questioning so much with Baylor, I still think Baylor's a better team than Texas Tech. I'm concerned with the road record right now for Texas Tech. 2-4 when they've left home. Undefeated at home. Great. But you got to win on the road in college basketball. It's very important to do that because it really, you see it across all the boards this season. Everyone can win at home. Iowa State's 12-3 at home. They're 2-4 on the road. They have a 16-7 record, and they're 3-7 in conference play. You have to win at home for me. That's the only reason I don't have this team in, because they have the impressive wins. But I don't care if you drop 1 or 2 at home. You got to get those back on the road.
Yeah, I agree. Because that separates some teams. You play good at home and on the road. Struggle on one, you're just one of those good
not
teams
at home, so that's the thing that matters.
Yeah, I mean, if you're only good at one of them, you're just one of those teams we look at like, hey, you're good, but are you really the next level? But yeah, I mean, they had that win against Texas. Texas just beat Kansas last night, so that makes that look pretty good. I mean, they lost to Kansas, but they have some other good wins, like you said, Alek. But right now, I like the way this team's playing. I actually had them at 7 in my rankings.
They're sweet. I like
you had them at 7. Matt had them at 8.
Yeah. I decided to put them in there, especially after the Duke loss. I'm like, I'm putting Texas Tech in. They've been playing. I mean, good.
It opened the door with UCLA and Duke falling out here. I mean, it opened that door wide open for people to jump in, and you saw a lot of teams take advantage. I mean, our top 5, 6, 7 teams, it's pretty much going to be the same at this point, unless they lose and drop out, like you saw with UCLA and Baylor. But I mean, you got to love this strong top 7 we're into now, and I think this is kind of just weeding out the competition as we get farther down. I think by the end of this month, we are going to know without a shadow of a doubt who the top 4 teams in the country are. I don't think there's any question that we are going to know that. Yeah,
because it's this bottom part of the top 10. Like you said, you could pretty much put it in any order, throw some other teams in there, make arguments for other teams, because with Duke losing and some other teams losing, it's up for grabs. But those top 4, like you said, we're going to be able to separate those pretty soon.
Yeah, and I mean, you can probably shuffle around the names who you have 2 through 5, but I don't think you're getting anybody different out of those few guys. It's going to be the same mixture back and forth. So with that being said, let's go to number 7. They get to stick around another week here at number 7. They show no movement in the rankings. Houston, the Cougars, they win. They're in. I mean, it's kind of like what we talked about with Cincinnati, right? I mean, they had an easy schedule in conference play. There really doesn't seem to be another team challenging the Cougars this season. I mean, they got SMU next, and I hope you guys talk about that on the show tomorrow. Because it should be a great game with that one. Yeah, I wish I was there to get to see that
definitely add that
in person at least. Yeah, okay, good. But they're on a 12-game win streak. I mean, how can you not like what's coming out of them? The only thing, I mean, we already mentioned it. You're not getting quality wins at this point in the season, so they're just kind of riding along with what everyone else is falling out. I mean, they're benefiting off that. We're waiting for teams like Kansas and Kentucky above them to lose so they can make a jump up, or even Arizona or Purdue tonight potentially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, number 6 here on the
Sure.
rankings. You guys got nothing else?
Yeah.
Kansas, the Jayhawks. They do lose yesterday, but they're still a pretty good team. Still kind of on the higher end of our rankings. Taking that loss definitely hurts. They fell to 8 in the AP rankings, but actually, I didn't see this game was even upset. Probably would have affected my rankings before coming into the show. With so many games, sometimes it's hard to remember all the
I think
upsets.
they're 8 right now, or no, they were 8. I think.
Oh, that's right, because they were 8 after Monday at noon, and now But
so now they should drop at least a few.
Yeah, I mean, right there. I mean, that's another team we go into next week. They're not in our top 10, so even with what goes on this week, I mean, they don't have another game till Saturday. Then they have Oklahoma State. Should be 2 wins for them. But to me, I mean, I think coming up next week, they'll probably be dropped out. So Houston looks like they're going to be on the rise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Another opportunity for them.
But I mean, I think if you look before that Kansas-Texas game, they smacked the crap out of Baylor, didn't they? I mean, they looked great coming off of the Iowa State and Baylor game, and they came up short. I mean, I think the confidence got too high.
I talked about that yesterday, Mike. They came off those huge wins against Iowa State and Baylor, and they came into this game with way too high hopes, and Texas caught them. That's what happened. I said not to take Texas lightly. They did, and they lost.
Yeah,
don't screw around with Texas, okay? I know they don't have the players developed yet, but when they do develop, they're going to be great. But I said they're going to show flashes at some point. I said
we were saying that
they showed flashes last night.
Yeah,
so they're going to be a good team.
Well, number 5 on the list, pretty easy to say here. Kentucky, the Wildcats, getting the 5 spot in our rankings here. I mean, they just continue to improve, right? I mean, they were sitting 4th place last week. They take a little slip down, but I mean, I think that was just Arizona had to jump right back up to where they were. I mean, they came back off that UCLA game last time, shot right back up to where they should have been, and that disparity I talked about between UCLA and Arizona, I think second time around kind of showed itself a little bit more. Arizona gets the bump. Yep. Kentucky has to slide a little bit. But, hey, they've been playing great basketball. Coming off a win against Alabama, who has the toughest strength of schedule in the country. So I think their record you kind of have to take for granted a little bit because they've shown points of the season they're a good basketball team. They lost by 11 here to number 5 team as an unranked. So I think Alabama at the moment with what they've done this season, I think you have to cut them some slack, I think would be the proper termage here for what's been going on this season because they've been running through the gauntlet, man, much like your Penn State squad has been. If they were in a good record at this point in the season, I mean, I think it would be near hard to say they weren't top 5, but 14-9, and they just keep slipping up. I mean, it's so hard to put them there, especially when, they're able to beat Baylor. Then you get blown up by 20 by Auburn and then nearly a dozen by Kentucky. It's hard to say Alabama is one of those teams, but they have been great this season regardless of what else has happened. And Kentucky going in there against them, it just shows Kentucky's a strong program at that with what they've been doing recently as well.
Yeah,
playing some of the best.
Kentucky is full force
right now.
They're playing. What'd you just say, Mike?
They're playing some of the best basketball there is right now in college basketball.
They're top notch right now. They're top notch.
Let's go to the other set of Wildcats then. Number 4, Arizona.
Another team.
So Wildcats handed off to the Wildcats at 4. Arizona, I mean, they're right back on the horse, right? I mean, I told you when they lost to UCLA the first time, they're not going to have 2 bad shooting nights this season, and I've been right so far. I mean, they have smoked Arizona State twice in this run. They won by 10 against UCLA. They won by 9 against USC on the 5th. So, I mean, this last week, they were showing off, man, and it was fun to see. And with just 8 games left in the season right now, I got this team coming out first in the Pac-12. I don't think anyone's really going to challenge them this point. They got Oregon State. Oregon should be a good game. I'm interested to see what they do there. But between Utah and Colorado, I don't think they're getting much of a fight there. And then Stanford and California to end out the season. Neither one of those teams are high up on the list. So at the moment, Arizona, they should have a clear path right now to a number 1 seed. So long as they make the run of the Pac-12 tournament as well, because that'll impact March rankings as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
They do have USC coming up, though, so don't take them lightly. But other than that, they should, like you said, they should have a clear path. So
Arizona has USC coming up?
I mean, well, at the end of their schedule, they do.
No, they have Cal and Stanford.
Yeah, man, they've already taken on USC.
Yeah, but it says here on their schedule that they're going to take him on again. It says
What schedule are
March
you looking
1st. Huh?
at?
This
Or
is
wait, the one was
ESPN.
postponed, so you could be right. They could be throwing it in somewhere.
I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah, they moved it there. It hasn't updated. I
Yeah.
was still looking at the one they have on Google, but since I don't think they've put the time on it yet, they haven't added it to the Google calendar yet for it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, USC round 2 definitely should be a good
Yeah.
one. I mean, it was a close matchup last time, so interesting to see. Good call out there, Matt.
Oh yeah.
Someone's paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
I'm glad somebody else is fact checking stuff sometimes.
I thought maybe you were getting
Yeah.
confused with Stanford's logo. Like you thought they were maybe USC because they kind of look similar.
No.
Yeah, a little actually. Never thought about that, but Arizona. I mean, they're if they run that table, I mean, they run through the Pac-12, they're going to be a 1 seed in March. Whether they're 1 through 4 in our rankings doesn't really matter. It's going to be 1 through 4 determines your 1 seed. So I think they're going to be fine. And I think, Matt, that's maybe one of the biggest things you talk about college basketball too. We just ran down the top, 10 teams in the country. These are all of our 1s and 2s, and then 2 of our 3 seeds come March. So this is a very small portion of the field we're about to see in March, which is 128 teams overall.
Oh no, it's like 60 something.
It's 64 teams.
Yeah.
Is it?
Feel
Okay, then I just doubled that.
It's a 64 teams.
That'd be like a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, when I was thinking like, wait,
field
isn't
is
it?
64,
Yeah.
and then when it's 32, then 16, and 8.
Yeah, oh well. 128, 64, cut it in half. It is what it is.
That'd take more than March, man. That'd be like
that would be awesome, though, right?
April
I mean,
Madness.
we're talking about the chaos of March Madness. This is just year-long craziness, right? If we put
120 something teams, 100. Yeah, why should be in it then?
April, May Madness. It'd be like a 3-month tournament.
Does anybody have a problem with 3 months of super intense college basketball? Imagine the champions that come out of a 128-team tournament. You think UNB Steve beating Virginia was weird? Oh, boy. Talk about a 1v, what would they be, 32 seed to start things off?
Why you could get in?
I love that, though, right? I mean, come on. 3 months of college basketball? 3 more? I'd take it.
Oh, man.
Look, at least I can laugh at myself here. Number 3 on the list, Purdue, the Boilermakers. I don't like them this high just yet. If they beat Illinois tonight, I like it. To me, though, that schedule's been weak, man. Their comeback has been weak. That's been poor.
Yeah.
I don't like it. They're getting a lot of hype for nothing, in my opinion, right now. They were great. They were great early in the season. You have to give them credit. They went on a good run. But in that last 5, the only high caliber win was Ohio State, and I'll give them that. It was a great win. It was close, and they have a win over Illinois, but there's something about this team. Even though they've only lost twice in their last 10, I don't feel confident anymore about Purdue. And I think there's something to that.
I know what you're talking about.
Maybe I'm off when I'm thinking about that, but there's just something about this team. I feel like when you talk about certain squads, this is one of those ones that you think of as just your perennial letdown, right? Purdue gets all the hype. They're so great, and they make it down there, Sweet 16, Elite 8 every time. They just kick the bucket. I mean, they're just one of those teams I can never have confidence go with, especially going up against high caliber teams. If they go up against some nobody, you got a pretty good confidence they're going to win that game. But when they go up against somebody who's playing their best basketball, I think Purdue becomes very beatable. I know they have some great guys that have really been standing out this season. I mean, guys that are probably going to go into the NBA, headlined by Jaden Ivey and Zach Edey. And I love what those guys are doing, but there's something about me. I just don't think either one of those guys has that killer mentality that you look for. They've shown the good moments. Don't get me wrong. I mean, buzzer beaters and all that. It's great. But there's something about them. They don't have that. And I can't identify what that is. But when you watch a team, when you watch a basketball player, they have that it factor. They are that guy that can win a game come March. And I mean, I think it's almost the situation you had with Duke a few years ago with Zion and RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish. They had all the points. They were a 1 seed. They were huge. They were this, they were that. And then they fall out short. I mean, they came up short because look at all 3 of those guys now. Are any one of them killer mentality guys? Or do any one of those guys have the it factor? No, I don't think Purdue at this moment has that guy that is that it factor. I mean, there's still a long way to go, and they can get that. And I mean, they go on a run in the season. I got no problem saying that this will be a team that you'll see make a deep run. But at the moment, I don't feel that energy from Purdue that you see in a program like Auburn right now. You look at Auburn or Gonzaga and even Arizona and Kentucky. I feel like there's just this aura of it factor around them, and I don't feel that with Purdue right now. There's still question marks for Purdue.
But the good thing though for Purdue, they're 20-3 second in the Big Ten, and like you said, their last 10 games haven't been impressive, but they've gone 8-2 in their last 10 games, so they can get things going.
That's Illinois and Ohio State too. No slack off there. And I mean, if they beat Illinois tonight, I mean, I will have no problem putting them up in the top 3. Do I think they're the strongest of the top 4? No.
Right, but I'm saying like. They're not even playing their best basketball. Feels
they're
like
stronger than Gonzaga. I think they're stronger than Gonzaga.
I don't know about that. We haven't seen Gonzaga play real basketball in a while. I think Gonzaga is going to come out of the tournament just like last year and make a deep run. I mean, I got Gonzaga as a Final Four team. They have all the pieces.
Yeah, maybe
at least a Final Four. Who we have in our top 4 right now, Purdue is my 4th team. I think they're the weakest of that top 4 that we have.
Okay.
Which I mean, that's good category to be. You're still number 1. I mean, you're a lot better than
you're some bomb,
200 other teams in college basketball. I mean, college basketball, that field is huge. The fact that we're even picking out 64 teams, it seems like such a small number when you talk about the amount of teams that play in Division I basketball.
Yeah.
So to be one of those top seeds is great. I just worry about this is a team that looks like they can get upset. Much like Ohio State was a team that looked like they could get upset by a hot shooting 3-point team. And guess what? Oral Roberts did just that in the first round.
It's just like you probably felt the same way with Illinois last year.
Yeah. So. Or how about Michigan? Michigan was one of those teams that we're like, oh, they got all the pieces. But I think the one thing we missed out on that we didn't look at was nobody had that it factor, that killer mentality. And that's why they came up short. Sure, you can blame it on the injuries, blame it on this and that. But when you got a team that had as much depth as Michigan did last year to come up short the way they did, it was a disappointment. There's no other way to say that, especially with the bounce down season they've had this year. They had all the pieces then. They didn't have that it factor. Purdue right now has all the pieces. I don't think they have it.
We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I'd love for them to prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, please. Bring a Big Ten title or national championship to the Big Ten. Please, by all means. I will not have a problem with that. That's just how I'm feeling about the team at the moment.
Yeah.
So with that being said, number 2, Gonzaga. I mean, they're going to ride here until they lose. So, Matt, you've been flipping out your 2 what seems to be your number 2 team every week at this point. You had Gonzaga 3 weeks ago. Then you had UCLA. Now you got Purdue. We'll get to see if you 4 weeks deep on that. I think you maybe even had somebody else before Gonzaga in there. Yeah, you did. You had Auburn the week before that. You had Alabama the week before that. Gonzaga the week before that. Your number 2 seed has not stayed the same throughout this entire running year. Purdue had back-to-back weeks. That's it. But then you had Baylor before them.
Number 2 is not safe.
Matt has been all over the board.
It's not safe.
If you can put it past star Gonzaga, hey, you know what? Gonzaga's got Pacific and St. Mary's on Saturday. I think they lose St. Mary's at this point with the way Matt's picking has been going, putting them at the number 2. Oh, wait, no, Purdue's on it, so Purdue's going down tonight.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because this is ours. You're talking about Matt's personal one.
Yeah. Matt has Purdue at number 2 still.
But anyway, if you're number 2, you're not safe.
Purdue's the most common team at number 2 as well. So and they've slipped up every time. Every time they touch number safe. 2. So Purdue fans, you better be hating on Matt right now. He's the reason you guys have lost all 3 of your games.
No.
The Matt Morrison jinx.
All right. Well, with that being said, number 1, the Tigers of Auburn. What more can you want out of the team? 22-1,
sweet,
19-game win streak. I mean, guys, even if they lose, they're still number 1, right? I mean, unless they get absolutely blown out by somebody.
Loss that they had to UConn, that was like the 3rd, 4th game in the season. If they replay that right now,
top 25 team.
Yeah, but they would be
in a great Big East too.
Yeah,
no, I mean, I think you talk Auburn losing at this point. I mean, 1, they're still number 1 in the SEC. Am I really going to say Gonzaga is better than them and jump them? Or are you going to say Purdue is? Maybe if Purdue can get a huge win over Illinois and sweep the season series there over the other top team in the Big Ten, But at the moment, I think Auburn could even slip up at this point in the season, and they're just fine. One, to be a 1 seed in March, so long as they don't completely fumble the bag here to finish out the season, which it doesn't look like they will. They have Arkansas coming up. Could be a little bit of a concern with how close Georgia played them on Saturday. It was a 2-point game there. Nearly was upset by, the cross-border rival there. But, I mean, you got to like the way that they're looking to finish out this season. Tennessee and Florida, Arkansas, 3 of their games in there. They might be a threat, but I don't see anybody. Since nobody has threatened them so far, I don't know if we're going to see anything the second time around with a lot of these opponents. So I got confidence in Auburn right now. They feel like they got something brewing there. I am a little worried about that it factor there as well with them, because I feel like sometimes a little too even with them. But with a team that's been winning so hard, it's hard to find a criticism in there since they're finding ways to win every single time out. And when you have a team this balanced, I think the opposite with Purdue is. I feel like Purdue is fighting to get number 1. Auburn's fighting not to lose number 1 at this point. It's different mentalities. I think when you play the floor, and maybe that sounds a little hypocritical to say, Purdue doesn't have that it factor and Auburn does. I don't know if Auburn has it, but they got something. I don't know exactly what that is, but they got something special brewing. I don't know if it's the it factor. We'll find out if that's what it is come March, but they got something special going on in Auburn.
Yeah, you talk about the confidence they have. That goes to Coach Bruce Pearl. I mean, after that Georgia loss, he's like,
legend.
He's like, we didn't play great, but he's like, we were on the verge of being upset, but we weren't upset. So it's just a matter with the final tallies. He's got to play with confidence.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Well, what more can you ask for at this point in the season? But before we get into our predicting games, we have a few trades here from the NBA to announce, talk about here for just a brief minute. So a big one coming between the Blazers and the Pelicans. First one here, Pelicans have received C.J. McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell. The Blazers got Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Nikhil Walker-Alexander, Aditi Luzada, a 2022 first-round pick, and then 2 more second-round picks. Guys, in your opinion, who won this trade? Because I got a feeling the Blazers pulled off a great trade in this one, especially for that draft pick, 2022 protected first round. So most likely with the way the Pelicans are playing, that'll get moved to 2023 as a lottery pick, most likely next season. I mean,
who says they're not done?
Back and makes the change with McCollum and Nance. I think could be a great trio to have working together. I mean, that's a lot of playing above the rim to have Nance and Zion both on the same side. So that could be great. Yeah. But I also feel like the Blazers, man, they're in a rebuild. I got a feeling all 3 of those guys are probably, or all 4 of those probably going free agency. I kind of see that as they were dumping McCollum's contract.
Yeah, I mean, and they might get rid of Dame as well. Do they stick with Dame? Does Dame stay or leave? I mean, or does he stick with?
I think maybe the one part of that is, what have you done with Dame? I mean, at this point, you could probably rebuild and do better without him. That's no shot at Damian Lillard either. That is the organization isn't working with him in this process, and they have kind of seemingly gone their separate ways. And the team kind of was like what happened with LeBron, right? In Cleveland, first time around, the front office refused to give him the right pieces, refused to build around him in Cleveland that first stint, and he carried a team to the playoffs multiple times, and he was like, I want to have fun. I'm tired of this. He goes to Miami, he has his party years, and he comes back here, wins the title. It kind of has that feeling right now. Damian Lillard, it's like Damian Lillard keeps carrying this team and carrying and doing this and that. And it feels the franchise refuses to build back around him.
Yeah, and they did the same thing with Russell Westbrook in OKC. He spent there very long time, and then finally decided to leave. And just, I don't know. I think it's time. I think it's time just to move on. Like, it's nice to stay loyal, but I mean, they're not helping you. They're not helping you out at all.
Yeah, that Pacific Northwest region could be in for some culture shocks, especially when you're talking about obviously the move, no more C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard go to the NFL. Still potential that Seahawks move on from Russell Wilson. I mean, potential there. Slim at this point. It seems like he'll stay, but I mean, Pacific Northwest could be in for a huge shakeup here pretty quick. The other trade, I love this one. Pacers are trading Domas Sabonis or
Domantas Sabonis.
Definitely spelled his name wrong here because it's Domantas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Adrian Wojnarowski completely
screwed it up. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. Justin.
What did he do?
He put Pacers are trading Domas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Jeremy Lamb to Sacramento.
It's supposed to be Justin Holiday.
Yeah, Justin Holiday in there. But for Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson, I mean, that right there is a phenomenal trio for the Pacers to be picking up. Although I feel similar with both these teams, you're probably going to see all those guys hit free agency when they're available. I don't think they're getting re-signed there unless either one of those teams has a turnaround season. They're both kind of going towards the bottom. Pacers right now looking like they're starting that tank, dropping off LeVert and Sabonis here in back-to-back days. So the addition of Halliburton, Hield, and Thompson seems great on paper. 3 contracts that are coming up here and 3 contracts that are most likely going to be big next time around. I don't think you see any of these guys re-signing to where they were traded.
No.
I mean, I like to trade for both teams, but it sucks for the only thing that I really don't like is Sacramento losing from Halliburton.
That's what everybody was talking about with the the LeVert and Ricky Rubio trade. Rubio could easily go back to the Cavs if he wanted to this summer when his contract expires. So,
all right, guys. Well, we got to move it on here. 14 minutes left in the show. We got to do some quick picks in college basketball. First one off, right out there into the Big East. Marquette and UConn tonight in Connecticut. Should be a great game between these two top 25 teams. UConn's coming off a 3-game losing skid, though, so you got to start worrying in this one. I got Marquette in this. I mean, they have just been so hot recently. I can't pick against them.
Oh, yeah. I'm picking Marquette here, too. I've been kind of hot on Marquette.
Let's go.
What's that?
Only loss for Marquette was not a problem, but it was by 2 points. So they've been playing great ball.
Yeah, I've been high on Marquette pretty much this whole year, so I'm rolling with them. Nothing against UConn though. They're still a pretty solid team, and hopefully they can bounce back out of this losing streak. But gotta stick with the Golden Eagles.
Who do you got, Alek?
Yeah, and we got votes on Twitter as well. I put up the poll for today, and through 7 votes here, Marquette won. The majority of those 71% picked Marquette over UConn here. Mike, what do you got?
I'm going to go Marquette.
Good choice. Next one up here, SEC action, Auburn on the line against Arkansas. This one feels pretty clear cut, but 3 out of the 4 people that voted on our poll today went Arkansas on this one. They flipped the script and think Auburn's going down here on the road. They're definitely sleeper. Number 3 team in the SEC. I'm not going against Auburn though right now. I like what the Tigers got.
No, but don't take them lightly, Auburn. Do not take them lightly. You saw what happened last night with Kansas and Texas. They took Yeah. But
Mike,
I'm going Auburn. I think
Auburn,
you're tempted to pick upsets, but it's like you don't really have a reason to until it happens. Like we always say. So I'm going
when it's that 1 seed on the line now. You gotta wait till somebody proves.
Don't think too much into
a reason for there to be an upset. Right.
Yeah.
Big Ten matchup here should be a great one. This Michigan State in Wisconsin. The poll picked Michigan State out of just 3 votes there. Not a lot of action, but they take Michigan State to win this game. I think Michigan State's kind of starting that slide down. I think both of these teams struggling. Michigan State won last time. I think a lot we've been seeing this season is a lot of splits back and forth. Michigan State, they won that one. Wisconsin lost that at home last time. Michigan State could pick up the away and home win if they take home the home win tonight. I think they're definitely probably favorited because of that reason to win it at home. But I think Wisconsin's still a really good basketball team. And I think at this point, you got to roll with Davis and the way he's been playing. I mean, he's been keeping them together. I got Wisconsin in this one. I like Michigan State. I really do. And I wish them the best in this game, but I don't know if they have what it takes.
Yeah, I got to roll with Davis and the Badgers.
Like you flipping here?
I guess Michigan State.
Okay. Next
one.
Go
different.
For us, Illinois and Purdue, the big one tonight. This one had the most interaction by far. 15 votes in the poll was split. 53.3 to Illinois and 46.7% to Purdue. I mean, these two were right next to each other. So even the fans don't know who to pick. I'm not sure I know who to pick. In my own personal rankings, I have Illinois as the best team, but Purdue, man, they're sneaky. I know I was just criticizing them, but it's still hard to pick against them.
I've been rolling with them all year, so I'm going to keep it going. I keep saying this when we pick their games.
I'm going Illinois.
Matt?
I'm going Illinois.
You know, you always do this to me. Every time I go like, oh, I'm taking the upset, you go, I'm doing it too. And I go, damn it. every time.
Well, I'm sorry.
Matt, you love to jump on upsets, man.
No, you can't change it now. No.
All right.
Nah, he already made the pick.
You already submitted it.
Yeah, this is a hard one, man. I mean, both of them playing
hard.
great.
Yeah.
I think Illinois might be playing a little bit better, man. I think I'm going with you on this pick. In my personal rankings, I love to pick this way of who I think is better. I had these teams at 6 and 7 with Illinois having the edge, and I'm waiting for Purdue to prove me wrong. Give me Illinois. So we'll go quickly here into the NBA. We'll finish up with a little Olympic talk at the end of today's show, but NBA game, it's crap. So we pretty much got to flip a coin for this one. Houston Rockets on the road to take on New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously, Pelicans getting a few new players. Probably won't see them in today's action, though. Pretty poor game. Pretty much fighting for last place in the Western Conference. But two teams we haven't really gotten a chance to talk about it all this season. Unfortunately, we're pretty much out of time, so we don't really get to talk too much about either one of these teams. But I don't know. Anybody got anything interesting about anyone playing in this game? I don't.
No.
3-game win streak for Pelicans.
There you go. I don't think it's going to continue because
No.
you got some guys out because they just made a trade, so they're kind of shorthanded.
Right. It's a shortened roster, and they are coming off a win
They had
in
all
Houston,
the keys.
120-107 against this team just on Sunday.
They had all the keys to be a huge, surprising team, and without that Zion, and he's not playing very well, and he's always hurt. I think that's been very depressing down there.
Well,
honestly.
I mean, they just made that trade. They're still in the run for a playing spot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Matt, who are you taking this one? We'll put you on the line first.
Give me the Pelicans. Why not?
Mike?
Guess I'll go Rockets.
All right, well, the fan spoke on this one. Just one of them. Sorry. I'll hear him out. I'll take the Pelicans with him. We had one fan vote for the Pelicans, so I'll go that way on it. Final one here between over into the NHL. Guys, we got your squad on the line tonight. Penguins, Bruins should be awesome between these two. Matt, I know you hate the Bruins, but come on, this is great. You guys are on a 4-game skid right now, but I mean, this should be great, right?
I'm sorry for swearing, but we got to kick their ass. We've lost 4 in a row. We're coming out against this team, and just can't stand any one of their players, especially Marchand. He's good, but I just can't stand any one of them at all. I cringe at looking at them. I can't stand them. I wanted to be Happy Gilmore for Halloween. I wouldn't do it because I didn't want to buy a Boston jersey because that's why he wears the whole movie. I couldn't find a Subway shirt. I can't stand them. I can't. I've been to that city, too. I've been in their arena, and I have spit on the floor in their arena. I cannot stand them.
Matt, I'm going to say there's a lot of teams you can't stand. I'm just saying.
I'm glad you said it.
Hockey,
especially in hockey. Especially in hockey.
In hockey, it's just mainly the Capitals and the Bruins. That's it. Football,
Alek,
I can't
until somebody beats the Penguins in the playoffs next, then that'll be a third. And then
no. The Islanders the Islanders always.
Matt, how do you feel about the Flyers?
In the playoffs.
Matt, how do you feel about the Flyers?
A little bit on there.
You got to have the Flyers in there. Look, I got the puck with them on it. The rivalry.
Okay. Not as much, but I don't like them either. I mean, honestly, Columbus. I don't like them, but they're like the least of the ones that. I'd root for them, so I wouldn't root for any of the other teams.
I know you guys are taking the Penguins. I don't pick against you guys when it comes to this squad. Our fan
better
vote
not. You're rating that next room. You gonna pick the Bruins?
Probably not today. I'm not scared of you, but I don't know. It's hard picking against the Penguins this season. They've been so good. Hey, in my algorithm has you guys in a clear win in this game. 11-point differential in scoring for.
I didn't know you're still using that.
Points in the plus for you guys. I was throwing it out there. I wasn't doing any better guessing, so I'm going right back to it, man. You know what? I'm ride or die at this point with it. I got to see if it works. I took a skid there. I'm willing to keep on it though.
If we win tonight,
everything goes through a skid.
If we win tonight, we're tied for second. So it's a huge game.
Right.
Yes, we lost 4 in a row, but a bunch of those games were overtime losses, so we still got points.
And they haven't lost any
Yeah, I
ground
mean, you guys
either.
have only had one actual loss. You're 6-1-3 in the last 10.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's an important factor to decide that one. And before we wrap up the show, got to point out here, U.S. still in the Olympics has not yet won a gold medal. We have 4 silvers and 1 bronze, 5 in total. The ROC right now has the most total medals, and Sweden has the most overall golds. They have 4, a 4-way split for second in terms of gold medals between the Netherlands, China, Germany, and Norway. But luckily for the U.S., Nathan Chen just set a world record in figure skating. He's one of our biggest Olympians in the first stages here of the Olympics. Obviously, we haven't gotten to snowboarding yet. Once we get there, those medals are going to come a little bit more heavy with Chloe Kim and Shaun White going in the half pipes coming up.
I was
very
watching
soon.
Shaun White the other day, and he still got it. Okay, he's still Shaun White. He's awesome. I liked watching him.
You know, we're in the events right now that are dominated, especially speed skating is the Netherlands. Oh my gosh, they have some of the best skaters in the world. We've already seen a ton of Olympic records shattered here in Beijing. Germany has done great so far in the luge. I love watching that event. The luge, skeleton, bobsled, and speed skating are like my 4 favorite events to watch here. I've been seeing a lot of it so far. And Germany, when it comes to that luge, they are one of the best programs out there. You have to give them some credit for what they've been doing, because pulling off some golds here. And I mean, Netherlands are great. In Sweden, I mean, are we really going to count them out of a snow competition? No. I mean, the entire country is a snow country. So, you know, they've been playing great so far. Love to see it. I want to see the U.S. though get some gold. How about you guys?
Yeah,
obviously,
I'm gonna keep an eye on that hockey team. We've got
before you mention men's hockey, women's hockey. I think they kind of fall out of the run time, but I love this women's hockey team right now. I mean, I didn't see Canada defeated the USA in the preliminary round today, but that game has gone back and forth the last 7 times.
Preliminary doesn't really count.
No, but this is the fiercest rivalry. These are the 1 and 2 seeds. To get that preliminary round win is definitely huge.
It's like boxing had Ali versus Frazier. Well, this is Canada versus USA. It's the same thing.
That's the first loss that U.S. women's hockey has had so far in the Olympics as well.
Yeah. So
I mean, that most likely you're going to see the gold medal match between U.S. and Canada. It seems pretty straightforward at this point. That's just got to be what it's got to be. Let's see when men's hockey starts. They start on the 10th for men's hockey. They start off China, Canada, and Germany. So 3 big games should be
pretty big games. Then we got, I mean, that's what sets you up for the other games.
Your qualifying round,
yeah. So it's good to do good in those, but if you don't, you're not out. So.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to do it here for the Casual Sports Podcast. I've been Alek Koberna. That's Matt Morrison and Mike Wolfgang. You can catch Matt later tonight. Bristol and Badger going head-to-head. And
fun,
a rivalry matchup. Should be a good one up there. And the wintry north that will call you guys up in Kinsman. But that's going to do it here for the Casual Sports Podcast. Power Hour coming up next.